my next guest will like this because it's exactly 10:20, 3:20, right on the button. Here's the man, the one and only from Jerome Quinn Media, all the way from Ireland. Good afternoon, Mr. Quinn.
Loved the adverts there. A bit of home. I thought you were setting me up there, and then somebody talking about pouring a perfect pint of Guinness. I can't wait to get there.
And how do you like that? Right on the button at 10:20. I told you I'd have you on, Mr. Quinn. You must be impressed with that, are you?
You're a man of your word, I'll give you that. I just hope all the games at the new Canadian Championships all start on time too, but with Sean Hart in charge, I'm sure they will.
Jerome, welcome to the show. Looking forward to meeting you, my friend. I've been studying you for a while, and listen, you have your own production company, and I would have to say you were at the vanguard at the start of this, people going out into the field and doing that stand-up with just one or two people and just bringing people what they need, information. How is that career going for you right now?
It's flying. I mean, that people, suppose, when you talk about career, I'm probably getting towards the end of a career now. I'm of a certain age, but I was around way back, and they didn't have, in the 90s, we didn't have, I was involved in presenting the first ever BBC Championship programme, and that was just a revelation because we did it like a match of the day programme every Sunday night, and the GAA just hadn't been done by that, certainly not by the BBC. But in those days, you didn't have social media. You didn't have phones. You didn't have all this available now. You didn't have internet hardly, so it's all changed. And fortunately, I've been able to transfer all those skills and bring in and tie it in with this whole explosion in internet and powerful sort of medium and all the sort of things you can use. I mean, I use my phone as much as I use a 4,000 pounds camera. There's all sorts of skills involved, not just in filming something, but in telling a story. And that's part of the key. A lot of people are out there and they're learning bits of it, but they don't know how to tell a story. I mean, you see a lot of live streams around the world at home and abroad, and they don't actually really know sometimes how to film a game that well, and then they don't know how to tell the story afterwards. And to me, that's an awful shame because that's where the stories are. Everyone has a story. Every person who scores has a story. They have a backstory, where they're from, why they were playing that day. Maybe they've got a special reason to be playing. Everyone wants to hear from everyone. It's not good enough just to sort of show what's happening. You've got to tell the stories too. So that's where we always sort of push it. I mean, I'm in Belfast right now, and we're heading off right after this up to the Glens of Antrim to do Lochiel against Cushendall. And when we start that live stream, the team that does it, the first thing we say to each other is, what's the first shot? And that means we don't just point at camera, we point it at something in particular. So say it could be a shot of the Glens of Antrim in the distance, it could be a shot of a substitute, it could be a shot of somebody in the crowd, but it's picking out something that is relevant. So you're telling a story about what is happening there, you're not just showing it, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm about, and that's why we try to sort of drive on and try to make ourselves a little bit different there.
And I think that's what your niche is to an immigrant who's 3,500 miles away. Because even sometimes if you're showing that parking lot at Lovedurg up in Honnestown, you can make this fellow feel homesick, Mr. Quinn. Because I just want to say this, because I enjoy what you do very much, because I'm in a bit of media, as you can tell on the radio here. But I have to say, what people want is they want that story that you're talking about, Jerome. And I have to say, punditry, 3 or 4 people sitting around a microphone telling you and pontificating, I think it's over. You can stick a fork in that. Would you agree?
Some of the podcasts you hear, I mean, God love them, no harm to them. But some of them, it's just gibberish, and they're just talking to themselves for so long, and you're going, would you just get to the point and tell us what you're on about, And there's just so much of bluff that is out there. And, to me, I always like to do my homework, and I always appreciate people who do their homework. I don't like the sort of person who sort of turns up at the last minute and just wings it. And yes, there's some talent in that too, but I prefer someone has done their homework and knows what's going on and is ready to tell me something that I don't know. There's no point telling me stuff that I do know or I can work out for myself. Tell me something that I don't know. And that's always sort of at the back of what I try to do. And I try to get messages through. I mean, one of the things we did last night, we did a game last night. And after the game, I said to the whole team, I said, right, what's the first video from that today? And I do it a lot. And it sort of gets them to think, what's the most interesting thing that you can send out there to people who haven't been here, who don't know anything about it? It could be a brilliant goal. It could be a brilliant 40-yard pass. It could be a story about somebody who a relative died and they're maybe, sort of doing it for them kind of thing, or they could have some sort of backstory like that. And that's where it is. That's what you've got to chase, And I'm sure there's loads of stories out there, and there will be at these games next month.
Yeah, but let's just tell...
There was one that the CYC a couple of years ago, remember I did this at the CYC, and I put out an appeal and said, are there any stories out there? And this one came back from Delaware, and they said, there's a young lad playing, and he's had an operation, and he's lost his legs and fingers in his left hand, and he's had leukemia, and he's with the under-10s from Delaware, and I'm going, really? And I called out the next morning, and there's this kid there, and he had metal legs, and he had a glove in his hand because he'd only, I think, 2 fingers left in that hand. And they sent him on as a sub, and I couldn't believe it. It was just one of the most amazing stories I've ever seen. And those are the sort of things that you pick up along the way. And it tells the whole story of not just the games, but what the GAA means to people and the communities and the family getting behind it. And it was so beautiful. I mean, the other kids, even on the other team, when there was a free, they'd say, give it to Conal, give the ball to him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just life. It's Irishness. It's everything that's fantastic out there.
So are you looking forward to coming and telling the stories here in Toronto, Jerome?
Cannot wait. I mean, I know I've been to Canada a few times. I've been to Ottawa. I know all the gang in Vancouver, Calgary. I've had dealings with them at the San Diego Sevens. But wider than that, I mean, the big thing about these games is it's the first ever Canadian National Championships, the CNC now. And the story there is that for some reason, they've lived in America's shadow for too long. They always are going down into America. So they sort of get swamped up a little bit there, and you see, I've been to the various competitions there, and there's a team from Canada. Now they're all teams from Canada. They're going to have their own identity. We're going to be able to put them on the map. This is Canada. It's not America. So let's scream Canada.
I love it, Jerome. I love it. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for pointing that out. And we can make a difference here in Canada. We're doing our bit. Can't wait to meet you, Jerome, and ask you for a piece of music. You're a big fan of this guy here. He can knock it out, Mr. Foy Vance, right?
Well, he's from this part of the world. He's a quirky guy, and I have to say he knows nothing about GAA, so there's no link there. But my daughter introduced me to him a few years ago. She's really into him. He means... he connects with her, let's put it like that. And she got married in June, and that song and that guy is a sort of a connection there. And the other connection is that I actually have tickets for his concert. I've never seen him, but when I come back from Canada on the 9th of September, I'll be going to see him for the first time. And it's also my daughter, who I mentioned. It's her birthday on the 4th of September when I'm going to be out there, so it just seems right that I should give a Foy Vance record for her as well. Here.
Well, Jerome, come on out and tell lots of stories of the Irish here in and around this great country and the city of Toronto, and bring back lots of stories and tell lots of stories for the Canadian National Championships. Thanks for taking time out from your busy schedule, Jerome, this afternoon.
No problem at all. Can't wait. And I'm off to the Glens of Antrim now, but I can't wait to see you all. So see you in a few weeks, and thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Jerome. Thank you. Slán.